morning and welcome to Rising. We've got a great show for you today. It is Thursday, I believe.
That's last time I checked, it
is.
Yes.
Keeping track of the calendar appropriately. How are you doing, Niall?
I'm fine, Robby. My week is going reasonably well overall, I would say. And yourself?
I just got my Nintendo Switch 2
Exciting
arrived
news.
in the mail, and I spent most of last night, setting it up, downloading the data from the old Switch to the new one, so I didn't get to play very much. Got to play a little bit of Donkey Kong. Very enjoyable. But I've got a train ride to New York and back today that I'm going to be playing the Switch the entire time.
Big day.
Big day.
Excellent. Well, let's get back, I guess, to news of a more serious variety. What is on your radar today?
Just a little bit more serious. Kamala Harris not interested in running for governor of California in 2026. Maybe she just wants to play the Switch 2 all day. The former vice president announced this news yesterday. I'm not actually surprised by it at all. In fact, I think the ex-Veep has her eyes set on a loftier prize, President of the United States. Yes, that's right. I fully expect that Kamala will make another run for the White House in 2028. But right now, she's playing coy. Multiple media outlets reported on Wednesday that after returning from a trip abroad, Harris decided to stay out of the race to succeed Governor Gavin Newsom, himself a likely 2028 contender. For now, my leadership in public service will not be in elected office. I look forward to getting back out and listening to the American people, helping elect Democrats across the nation who will fight fearlessly, and sharing more details in the months ahead about my own plans. The key phrase there is obviously for now. Now, honestly, Kamala is making the right call for her. Why on earth would the former vice president want to be a lowly governor? It's never made any sense to me. For one thing, being governor of a state requires a lot more work than being vice president, a job that actually has very few requirements per the Constitution. Running California, by contrast, means running a state that contains the world's fourth largest economy, dealing directly with tech regulation, the impact of immigration, mass transit issues, housing shortages, crime, forest fires, other issues. Is Kamala cut out for that? Far from convinced. But make no mistake, she does want to be the president. And Kamala's perspective is that last time around in 2024, she was never really allowed to run her race. Since Joe Biden dropped out at the literal last minute, she didn't have time to hire and recruit campaign staff who actually believed in her. She didn't have time to plan and execute a strategy. She didn't have time to convince the American people that she was sufficiently different from Biden, though to be fair, when given the opportunity to distance herself from the unpopular incumbent, she punted. Remember this moment on The View?
Would you have done something differently than President Biden during the past 4 years?
There is not a thing that comes to mind in terms of, and I've been a part of most of the decisions that have had impact.
That was the end of that campaign. I mean, points for loyalty, I guess, but the answer crucified her with swing voters. People did not like the Biden administration and they wanted a change. At no point did Kamala Harris indicate she was going to give it to them. But maybe next time will be the charm. Second time? Third time, actually. If Kamala runs in 2028, it will actually be the third attempt she's made at the presidency. Now, her 2019 campaign, and it's a 2019 campaign because she didn't even make it to 2020, never got off the ground. She dropped out when faced with bad polling in the California primary that had her likely to come in behind even Andrew Yang. Kamala Harris is not someone who has experienced a tremendous amount of success on her own as a national political candidate, yet Biden chose her as his designated successor. And so she would enter the 2028 race with a certain amount of establishment and elite support, also name recognition, even though I don't think there's really some grassroots movement clamoring for her. We've also learned that she's not terrific at long-form interviews, which, if 2024 is any indication, could be a dominant means of introducing candidates to the American people by the time the next election rolls around. Now, I have a feeling that the ascendancy of 3-hour podcasts is not going to be contested anytime soon. A successful presidential candidate is going to need to be able to sit down with Joe Rogan and Andrew Schultz and whoever else for hours and make a favorable impression. Look, love him or hate him, Gavin Newsom has proven he can do that. Pete Buttigieg has proven he can do it. Has Kamala Harris demonstrated that skill? I'm not so sure. Nevertheless, another failed Democratic presidential candidate is wishing Kamala well. Reacting to the news, Hillary Clinton wrote on X, "From prosecutor to senator to vice president, Kamala Harris has always been for the people. I know her next chapter will be no different, whatever shape it takes." Girls get it done, Niall. Look at them. Look at them getting it done.
Glad you paid tribute to Hillary Clinton, paying tribute to Kamala Harris
Yes,
there.
that's what our show. It's commentary on reaction to commentary to reaction to things.
I could feel the sincerity in your voice as you read out the Hillary
Overflowing.
Clinton. Look,
I'm untethered from what has been.
well, indeed, and what might be,
And what might be.
for that matter.
Yes.
So what isn't going to be is Kamala Harris as governor of California. I think she made the right decision.
Why would she do that? Why? I didn't want it for her. I was exhausted at the prospect of this happening to her.
Right. And to my mind, the other point is the risk-reward calculation doesn't work at all, right? If she runs for governor of California and wins, people say, well, of course she should have won. She was the sitting vice president and the Democratic nominee. If she runs for governor of California and loses, that's like literally end of political career. At
Although
that
Richard
point.
Nixon came back from the exact same situation.
Richard Nixon did, and Richard Nixon is the only person in modern history, at least, or well, relatively modern history, who has come back from losing a presidential election in 1960 to winning again, or winning for the first time in 68. Whether Kamala Harris can replicate that pattern, I am highly skeptical of. Look, you know, on this show I have been critical of President Trump numerous times, but I've never been that persuaded that Kamala Harris is some blinding political talent. As you mentioned, as you termed it, her 2019 campaign petered out, having begun with great excitement, big crowd in Oakland, there was a lot of media excitement around her. It never really went anywhere. Yes, her people can make the argument that she was burdened by Biden's unpopularity last year, and I think it was a 107-day campaign. That is, you know, that's short to present yourself as the next president.
I can see why, if you're self-deluded, you can think that, well, I could have won if I had time to do it my way. She had to use all of the Biden staff for the campaign, and those people were really awful, as we're learning, and they were so beholden to Biden, they didn't want to criticize him. They wouldn't let her, they were keeping her on a leash that was not favorable to her. But she will still be tarred by association with Biden next time around, is the problem. They're going to be, and this will be a problem for Pete Buttigieg as well, even though he does a good job of talking on podcasts and doing unfriendly media, and it does a lot of things right, I think, in terms of his comms and his impressive in some ways as a political figure, but he was a cabinet secretary, and the questions are going to be, well, why didn't you say anything about Biden? Were you not, you couldn't meet with him? I mean, part of the inability of the cabinet to meet with Biden is a theme of the Jake Tapper book. Not that we'll all necessarily be so obsessed with Biden's age in 2028, but I think him and Kamala will be, they'll be hurt by the association in the same way that Hillary Clinton was hurt by the Iraq War vote when she was up against someone, Barack Obama, who hadn't had to take that vote. Kamala and Pete will be up against, you know, Josh Shapiro and Gretchen Whitmer and other governors, people who don't have to own anything Biden did.
Yeah, I guess I would differ somewhat in what you think is going to be the salience of that issue in 2028. I mean, I'm just not persuaded that that topic will be quite as dominant as it is now. The Iraq War was still, you know, still going on and still very much part of the picture. The other thing, just finally, is I'm not entirely convinced she will run. I think she's extremely ambitious, and I think she'll think about it.
I think she can't help herself.
Well, I don't know.
They never can. They never can.
If it looks like she's going to lose, I don't know if she'll really get in, but we shall see.
We shall see. My prediction is she does, but why am I making predictions? I don't. It always comes out wrong.
It's always entertaining. It's always entertaining. That's why.
All right, Democrats are reaching deep into their bag of tricks to force the Trump administration to release the Epstein files. We'll talk about it after this.